What did you expect to see or experience prior to the service?
Well, I expected it to be more of like a formal ceremony where they specifically say all their expectations.
I definitely expected to see like people sitting and, in chairs or pews. I also expected there to be a Buddha at the front of the temple.
I definitely expected the temple to be more ornate and like grandiose, especially since I was raised very Catholic and I saw these like big cathedrals and everything. I was kind of shocked by how humble the building was compared to churches and such.
One of the things I expected was a more restricted area of choosing for the service and a more closed off to the guests. I expected it to be more of a sacred and secretive area.
I expected something more as like a religious service, what I have experience on based on services that I've gone in the past, Christian services with my parents. I expected something like that, maybe like some type of priest. And this was obviously before we began talking about Buddhism in class. So I didn't have a very specific idea about Buddhism. So I thought it would be almost like a priest talking and we would just be like sitting down. I imagined there would be some type of meditation. And I mean, I didn't have a clear picture of what it would look like, but it was definitely, like when I got to the place, it was definitely very different from what I thought.
Before I went, I was sort of expecting it to be similar to a Christian service again, because that's what I have experience with. I was expecting a bit of meditating, because I had heard from the people who had gone before me that it was meditating, and also the website said it was meditating. And the meditating was different from how I expected. I expected it to be more rigid, more dead silent. But it was dead silent, to be fair. But there was some people moving around. Like every once in a while someone would shift how they were sitting, someone would take off a jacket. It wasn't just perfect stasis for 30 minutes, like I was expecting. And also, there wasn't really any like preaching. It was mostly just meditating.
Did your experience match your expectations?
The meditation part, for the most part, yeah. There were more people there than I expected based off of what other group members who went before me said. And it wasn't as formal as I thought it would be.
A little bit, but not really. Like watching the online service, it kind of seemed small in there as well. There was no chairs. Everyone was kneeling, and I don't think there was no like statue or any Buddha at the actual temple.
No, because again, there was the building and everything, but I also expected it to be way more formal. I am very used to like strict religions and like sermons and everything, and that just wasn't something that they had. It was very lax compared to what I was expecting.
Although boundaries are to be respected, it was very freely as they meditated through the walks of nature and observed the beauty of it. Stretching played a big part in the service that was not to be expected at first.
It didn't match, but it was interesting. I think it was just something so different from what I could have expected, but I think overall it was a good experience.
My expectations weren't far off, but they weren't exactly right. Our experience when we went there, we did 30 minutes, I think. I wasn't keeping track of the time, of sitting meditation. And then we got up, did a bit of walking meditation, back to sitting meditation, and then we did a bit of, I'm not sure what it is. I think someone there called it Tai Chi.
Yeah, Tai Chi stretching, I think.
Yeah. It was just going through all sorts of motions. And I was expecting some sort of preaching, and there really wasn't any. And I also wasn't expecting Tai Chi.
What's one thing that stood out to you from the service?
Definitely the walking meditation when we took a walk through nature, just listening, like being able to hear the birds chirping and the water running beside us while we were meditating.
One thing that stood out to me was the ringing of the bell at the beginning of the service. Also, the way they were constantly getting up and then kneeling again and then getting back up and then kneeling again.
I was kind of shocked by how self-guided it was. There wasn't people telling you what to do as much as other religions might have you do. They just kind of told you when to start and stop meditating, and then they kind of led you through like the Tai Chi thing, because obviously not everybody knows Tai Chi. But otherwise it was entirely self-guided, and you kind of just focused on your own mind and everything.
What stood out to me in the service was perhaps how there was more people than expected, as well as the formality of it, which seems to be less of a formal place than I expected. And then as well as the temple was smaller than originally thought.
There was so it began with a sitting meditation inside. It was around 30 minutes, and then we went outside to take a walk, a walking meditation. During the walking meditation, there was a tree, and it had like a face, like an actual face, like I don't know if carved in there, or, I don't know, but there was a face. So that definitely caught my eye. I was like, what is this? And the other people that were there, because there were some other people that had never gone before, they didn't notice it, but it was like it was a walking meditation, so I wanted to stay quiet and not interrupt, so I didn't say it. But I think they would have been like, whoa, a tree with a face.
Just that area it was in, like the room it was in, was not what I was expecting at all. It's a very small room, and then at the front there was all sorts of, I'm assuming, important religious things that I don't really understand. But the room wasn't what I was expecting at all. It's very peaceful. The peacefulness really stood out to me.
Then what's one thing, or what's the main thing that you can, or that you did take away from after the service?
Overall, just a sense of peace. Meditation has always been helpful for me for clearing my mind and bringing a sense of peace. And so to do it in a more structured setting was really nice.
I think the main takeaway was the sense of peace. After watching, or while watching the online service, the meditation was kind of just a peaceful vibe.
My main takeaway was that it was a very relaxing religion. I had a very stressful morning before we went to the temple, and by the time we had gone, I was just way more chilled out, and the things that used to annoy me wouldn't bother me as much. So I got a lot more appreciation for the religion in that sense, just with how much it affected my whole day from what was probably an hour of service.
The main take away from what could be seen from the temple and meditation service was the peace and comfort that it brought and offered.
It's so the Buddhism practices that I got to experience, it seems like it's very concentrated on the mind and just controlling your your mind and your thoughts, and just be able to keep a sense of relaxation through the whole time that you're meditating. And it's something that eventually you should apply in your life. As the Buddhism works say, they are very focused on things like you're really in control of your mind, and you can control yourself in any situation. Like if you feel like you're gonna get violent or something like that, you can control absolutely everything with the mind. They're very focused on the mind, and I think that's pretty important. And I would say I learned, obviously we learned how to meditate, and I think since I went to the place, I've tried to apply those meditation techniques and the recommendations that the person who was giving the service said, which was, to keep an empty mind, don't focus on the things that might be going on, and just relax. Don't worry about things that you can't control, things like that. Which is something that I struggle with. I tend to worry about things too much and things that I can't control. So I feel like I've personally benefited a lot from meditating, and it was a very cool experience, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Main takeaway. I guess the main takeaway would be expansion of what I consider a religious service to be. Because previously my only experience has been going to Christian services with family. And I sort of just assumed that's what all religious services would be like. I knew that there would be some difference, but I figured there would also be some similarities. But it's not even comparable. It's a completely different experience. So that I took that away.